Awareness by Osho. Forward. One of the most important things to be understood about man is that man is asleep. Even while he thinks he is awake, he is not. His wakefulness is very fragile. His wakefulness is so tiny, it doesn't matter at all. His wakefulness is only a beautiful name but utterly empty. You sleep in the night, you sleep in the day. From birth to death, you go on changing your patterns of sleep. But you never really awaken. Just by opening the eyes, don't befool yourself that you are awake. Unless the inner eyes open, unless your inside becomes full of light, unless you can see yourself, who you are, don't think that you are awake. That is the greatest illusion man lives in. And once you accept that you are already awake, then there is no question of making any effort to be awake. The first thing to sink deep in your heart is that you are asleep, utterly asleep. You are daydreaming day in, day out. You are daydreaming sometimes with open eyes and sometimes with closed eyes. But you are dreaming. You are a dream. You are not yet a reality. Of course, in a dream, whatsoever you do is meaningless. Whatsoever you think is pointless. Whatsoever you project remains part of your dreams and never allows you to see that which is. Hence, all the Buddhas have insisted only one thing: awaken. Continuously, for centuries, their whole teaching can be contained in a single phrase: be awake. And they have been devising methods, strategies. They have been creating contexts and spaces and energy fields in which you can be shocked into awareness. Awareness of men's and rats. Wakefulness is the way to life. The fool sleeps as if he were already dead. But the master is awake and he lives forever. He watches, he is clear. How happy he is, for he sees that wakefulness is life. How happy he is, following the path of the awakened. With great perseverance, he meditates, seeking freedom and happiness. From the Dhammapada of Gautama the Buddha. We go on living absolutely inattentive to what is happening around us. Yes, we have become very efficient in doing things. What we are doing, we have become so efficient in doing that we don't need any awareness to do it. It has become mechanical, automatic. We function like robots. We are not men yet. We are machines. That's what George Gurdjieff used to say again and again, that man as he exists is a machine. He offended many people because nobody likes to be called a machine. Machine likes to be called gods. Then they feel very happy, puffed up. Gurdjieff used to call people machines, and he was right. If you watch yourself, you will know how mechanically you behave. The Russian physiologist Pavlov and the American physiologist Skinner are 99.9% right about men. They believe that man is a beautiful machine. That's all. There is no soul in him. I say 99.9% because they are almost right. They only miss by a small margin. In that small margin are the Buddhas, the awakened ones. But they can be forgiven because Pavlov never came across a Buddha. He came across millions of people like you. Skinner has been studying men and rats and finds no difference. Rats are simple beings. That's all. Man is a little bit more complicated. Man is a highly sophisticated machine. Rats are simple machines. It is easier to study rats. That's why physiologists go on studying rats. They study rats and they conclude about men. And their conclusions are almost right. I say almost, mind you, because the 1/10 of 1% is the most important phenomenon that has happened. A Buddha, a Jesus, a Muhammad. These few awakened people are the real men. But where can B.F. Skinner find a Buddha? Certainly not in America. I have heard. A man asked a rabbi, "Why didn't Jesus choose to be born in 20th century America?" The rabbi shrugged his shoulders and said, "In America, it would have been impossible. Where can you find a virgin, firstly? And secondly, where will you find three wise men? Where is B.F. Skinner going to find a Buddha? And even if he can find a Buddha, his preconceived prejudices, ideas will not allow him to see. He will go on seeing his rats. He cannot understand anything that rats cannot do. Now, rats don't meditate, rats don't become enlightened. And he conceives of man only as a magnified form of a rat. And still I say that he is right about the greater majority of people. His conclusions are not wrong, and Buddhas will agree with him about the so-called normal humanity. The normal humanity is utterly asleep. Even animals are not so asleep. Have you seen a deer in the forest? How alert he looks, how watchfully he walks. Have you seen a bird sitting on the tree? How intelligently he goes on watching what is happening all around. You move toward the bird, there is a certain space he allows. Beyond that, one step more and he flies away. He has a certain alertness about his territory. If somebody enters into that territory, then it is dangerous. If you look around, you will be surprised. Man seems to be the most asleep animal on the earth. A woman buys a parrot at an auction of the furnishing of a fancy warehouse and keeps the parrot's cage covered for 2 weeks, hoping to make it forget its profane vocabulary. When the cage is finally uncovered, the parrot looks around and remarks, "Ark, new house, new madam." When the woman's daughter comes in, he adds, "Ark, new girls." When her husband comes home that night, the parrot says, "Ark, ark, same old customers." Man is in a fallen state. In fact, that is the meaning of the Christian parable of the fall of Adam, his expulsion. Why were Adam and Eve expelled from paradise? They were expelled because they had eaten the fruit of knowledge. They were expelled because they had become minds and they had lost their consciousness. If you become a mind, you lose consciousness. Mind means sleep. Mind means noise. Mind means mechanicals. If you become a mind, you lose consciousness. Hence, the whole work that has to be done is to become conscious again and lose the mind. You have to throw out of your system all that you have gathered as knowledge. It is knowledge that keeps you asleep. Hence, the more knowledgeable a person is, the more asleep. That has been my own observation too. Innocent villagers are far more alert and awake than the professors in the universities and the pundits in the temples. The pundits are nothing but parrots. The academicians in the universities are full of nothing but holy cow dung, full of absolutely meaningless noise, just minds and no consciousness. People who work with nature, farmers, gardeners, woodcutters, carpenters, painters, they are far more alert than the people who function in the universities as deans, as vice chancellors and chancellors. Because when you work with nature, nature is alert. Trees are alert. Their form of alertness is certainly different, but they are very alert. Now there are scientific proofs of their alertness. If the woodcutter comes with an axe in his hand and with the deliberate desire to cut the tree, all the trees that see him coming tremble. Now there are scientific proofs about it. I am not talking poetry, I am talking science when I say this. Now there are instruments to measure whether the tree is happy or unhappy, afraid or unafraid, sad or ecstatic. When the woodcutter comes, all the trees that see him start trembling. They become aware that death is close by, and the woodcutter has not cut any tree yet, just his coming. And one thing more, far more strange, If the woodcutter is simply passing by with no deliberate idea to cut a tree, then no tree becomes afraid. It is the same woodcutter with the same axe. It seems that his intention to cut a tree affects the trees. It means that his intention is being understood. It means the very vibe is being decoded by the trees. And one more significant fact has been observed scientifically. If you go into the forest and kill an animal, not only the animal kingdom around becomes shaken, but trees also. If you kill a deer, all the deers that are around feel the vibe of a murder, become sad. A great trembling arises in them. Suddenly, they are afraid for no particular reason at all. They may not have seen the deer being killed, but somehow, in a subtle way, they are affected. Instinctively, intuitively. But it is not only the deer that are affected. The trees are affected. The parrots are affected. The tigers are affected. The eagles are affected. The grass, the leaves are affected. Murder has happened. Destruction has happened. Death has happened. Everything that is around is affected. Man seems to be the most asleep. The sutras of Buddha have to be meditated on deeply, imbibed, followed, he says. Wakefulness is the way to life. You are alive only in the proportion that you are awake. Awareness is the difference between death and life. You are not alive just because you are breathing. You are not alive just because your heart is beating. Physiologically, you can be kept alive in a hospital without any consciousness. Your heart will keep on beating and you will be able to breathe. You can be kept in such a mechanical arrangement that you will remain alive for years, in the sense of breathing and the heart beating and the blood circulating. There are now many people around the world in advanced countries who are just vegetating in the hospitals because advanced technology has made it possible for your death to be postponed indefinitely. For years, you can be kept alive. If this is life, then you can be kept alive. But this is not life at all. Just to vegetate is not life. Buddhas have a different definition. Their definition consists of awareness. They don't say you are alive because you can breathe. They don't say you are alive because your blood circulates. They say you are alive if you are awake. So, except for the awakened ones, nobody is really alive. You are corpses, walking, talking, doing things. You are robots. Wakefulness is the way to life, says Buddha. Become more wakeful and you will become more alive. And life is God. There is no other God. Hence, Buddha talks about life and awareness. Life is the goal and awareness is the methodology, the technique to attain it. The fool sleeps and all are asleep. So, all are foolish. Don't feel offended. The facts have to be stated as they are. You function in sleep. That's why you go on stumbling. You go on doing things you don't want to do. You go on doing things you have decided not to do. You go on doing things that you know are not right to do. And you don't do the things that you know are right. How is this even possible? Why can't you walk straight? Why do you go on getting trapped into bypaths? Why do you go on going astray? A young man with a fine voice is asked to take part in a pageant play. Though he tries to beg off, saying he always gets embarrassed under such circumstances, he is assured it will be very simple and he will have only one line to say. I come to snatch a kiss and dart into the fray. Hark! I hear a pistol shot and then stride off stage. At the performance, he comes on stage, embarrassed already by the tight-fitting colonial knee breeches that he has been made to be put on the last moment, and becomes completely unstrung at the sight of the beautiful heroine laying back on the garden seat awaiting him in a white gown. He clears his throat and announces, I come to kiss your snatch. No, snatch a kiss?
And fart into the tray? Dart into the fray? Hark! I hear a shit still pot. No, a shostil pit? A pistol shit? Oh, patch it, ratchet, shit on all you! I never wanted to be in this damn play in the first place. This is what is happening. Watch your life. Everything that you go on doing is so confused and so confusing. You don't have any clarity, you don't have any perceptiveness. You're not alert. You can't see, you can't hear. Certainly, you have ears and you can hear, but there is nobody inside to understand it. Certainly, you have eyes so you can see, but there is nobody present inside. So your eyes go on seeing and your ears go on listening, but nothing is understood. And on each step you stumble, on each step you commit something wrong, and still you go on believing that you are aware. Drop that idea completely. Dropping it is a great leap, a great step, because once you drop the idea that I am aware, you will start seeking and searching for ways that means to be aware. So the first thing to sink into you is that you are asleep, utterly asleep. Modern psychology has discovered a few things that are significant. Although they have been discovered only intellectually, still it is a good beginning. If intellectually they have been discovered, then sooner or later they will also be experienced existently. Freud is a great pioneer. Of course, not a Buddha, but still a man of great significance, because he was the first to make the idea accepted by a larger part of humanity that man has a great unconscious hidden in him. The conscious mind is only 1/10, and the unconscious mind is 9 times bigger than the conscious. Then his disciple, Jung, went a little further, a little deeper, and discovered the collective unconscious. Behind the individual unconscious, there is a collective unconscious. Now, somebody is needed to discover one thing more, which is there, and I hope that sooner or later the psychological investigations that are going on will discover it. The cosmic unconscious. Buddhas have talked about it. So we can talk about the conscious mind, a very fragile thing, a very small part of your being. Behind the conscious is the subconscious mind. Vague, you can hear it whispering, but you cannot figure it out. It is always there behind the conscious, pulling its strings. Third is the unconscious mind, which you come across only in dreams or when you take drugs. Then the collective unconscious mind. You come across it when you go into a deep inquiry into your unconscious mind. Then you come across the collective unconscious. And if you still go further, deeper, you will come to the cosmic unconscious. The cosmic unconscious is nature.